What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Times.
What's up? What's up?
And LeVon Maynard.
Welcome to the show.
What is going on? Definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday and Tuesday are topics. Wednesdays are discussion. They kind of all feed into each other this week, so it's pretty cool when that happens. Thursday, sometimes we do the Ask Us SP podcast, where we talk to somebody who's trying to break in at an entry level like position or trying to get into cyber. Nobody lined up just yet. And then on Fridays, we do the weekly rundown. We talk about everything else, so the non-cyber stuff, TVs, movies, books that we partook. Is that a word? And throughout the week. I don't think that's a word. But we will be taking a hiatus after this week. So the 28th through the 1st, we will not be on, but we'll be on the following week. So definitely lock us in, subscribe, all that good stuff, so you can be notified when we come back. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right. So this article is from threatpost.com, and it is from Terra Seals. And the title of the article is "Agencies Warn on Satellite Hacks and GPS Jamming Affecting Airplanes and Critical Infrastructure." So we kind of hit on this a little bit, right? A couple of weeks ago with Elon Musk with the Starlink stuff, right? With him lending, his devices out there to Ukraine. But the gist of this, right, is there was a warning to aviation authorities and air operators, and the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, the EASA, warned of satellite jamming and spoofing attacks across a lot of Eastern Europe, right, that could affect navigation systems. So what this is causing some flights that are going on across Europe, not necessarily to Ukraine or to Russia, but just in the area in general, right, in Eastern Europe. It's causing them to have I don't want to necessarily say backups, but it's causing them to take more precaution in what they're doing, right? Because a lot of what we do nowadays is satellites, right? We use GPSs, whether it be in our vehicles, our phones, right? Military operations, whatever it may be. And because of this jamming that's going on, which they haven't come out and directly said, but they're fairly certain it's Russia, right? Because it started February 24th, which was the first day of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, right? But what we're running into is that these airplanes have to just verify some of their other systems that they have, right? That they use, or other abilities they use to fly, right? Whether it be line of sight physically or other things that they use, that they're up and running, right? Because there's very much the chance that they could be up in the air, right? And everything is good. Then they fly into a section where all of a sudden they lose some of the stuff that they use, that they need for flying, right? So again, not just so the EASA issued a warning, but also at the same time, the FBI and CISA, right, the U.S. Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, also sent a warning out as well, saying that hackers could be targeting satellite communication networks in general, right? So it's one of those things where we've been saying it for, let's see, a year and 5 months now, Ryan? Is that right? How long has the podcast been on? A year and 5 months, something like that. Cybersecurity is real. Hey, you gotta pay attention. You gotta be in on this stuff, right? Because again, even though this is something that is happening over in Eastern Europe, you have American agencies now that are like, hey, we're warning you, satellite network hacking is something that's happening. You know what I'm saying? It's something that's out there. So, but yeah, so I know with LeVon, right, I know what he's going to hit on in this article, right? I'm just going to allude to it a little bit, but it does mention with these satellite customers using multi-factor authentication. I'm taking a guess. LeVon
I didn't even notice that in there.
But you did? Okay. Well, look. Well, I'm gonna hand it over to you, LeVon. All right. Let us know what you got on this.
MFA champion over here.
Right. I was gonna say, now you got me searching the article. Like, where's the multi-factor in here? Let me find this. Okay, so because we should implement. Okay, multi-factor on their accounts. Okay, I see it. But yeah, I appreciate that. It's a very interesting article, and I had to pull up a map. I was trying to see some of the countries surrounding, Ukraine, and obviously I know they listed out some of the countries that seem to be susceptible to this and have been, I guess, found some issues, like you said, Finland and Baltic areas, Eastern Mediterranean areas, Cyprus, Turkey, Lebanon. I think it's very interesting. One thing that I take from this, it makes me think about us as a U.S. government, U.S. citizens, obviously, and we have a government that, you know, I bet, or I'm imagining, are actively monitoring this kind of situation and trying to see what kind of strategy Russia's using to try to block these satellites. And like, you know, we can imagine, I don't know, some future engagement where we have to have some conflict with Russia or any other country. And I would imagine that they would try to use some similar tactics to try to disrupt our networks or like flight plans or whatever, uh, by trying to jam some of the satellite systems. And it's already been, you know, that's part of the reason I think, you know, we have the Space Force and all that kind of stuff. That's the space is becoming like a new like battleground potentially with these satellites. And I've heard of, you know, I've heard of potential. I don't know the details, but I've heard of things like rockets or missiles being attached to satellite systems to be able to destroy other satellites that are in the constellation or whatever. So it's like it's a real thing, and the fact that Russia's potentially using these satellites to try to jam signals. I actually would be curious if they would jam themselves, or they just if they like destroy or compromise the satellite system, if that would affect their access to the satellite system as well, or if they have some backup system that would allow it to still connect. But it's a very interesting article, very interesting like scenario. Um, but obviously, you know, we're hopeful that, you know, obviously Ukraine has uh, been, you know, wrongfully attacked from what we see from Russia, and we're hopeful that this doesn't come to affect them in their operations and trying to secure their country. I know they still have planes that they're using to combat and all kinds of other GPS location devices to help them combat the Russian forces. But this is pretty serious, and you know, some of the stuff you don't really think about too much. You think about all the ground forces, all the military, all the guns and the rockets and stuff like that, but you don't think about some of the satellite. And you know, as you mentioned too, Shannon, like the cybersecurity is very important. And people kind of throw that in the background. They don't think about how to secure the devices until they get compromised, and then they're kind of trying to backtrack and try to catch up to get to a good place. But I'd be interested to see how this kind of spins out. But you have some thoughts on this one as well, Ryan?
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember writing a paper like a long time ago about GPS and how the world is so reliant on it, right? Like
Yeah.
the US put it up there. We kind of have a certain amount of dominance in that respect. But as you can see, like that doesn't stop them from jamming us or causing confusion and things of that nature. At the time, this was years ago, China was starting to launch their own GPS satellites over their own territories. I don't know how if that's expanded or not, because basically they don't want to be relying on U.S. Satellites in orbit, like because then who has the higher ground at that point, right? It'd be us. So they're putting their own up there. So I would be surprised if Russia was doing the same thing, if they didn't have their own GPS satellites in orbit, or at least they had plans to put them up there. So that way, again, they're not relying on just us. But when it comes to commercial, like we're kind of like the gold standard when it comes to the GPS, the satellite communications, right? Whether it be military or private. So this is very concerning. Again, like this is it's un un not sanctioned territory, but just like okay, like everybody has a pace plan when it comes to like planes and skies and things of that nature, right? Your pace is your primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. Usually satcom is a primary, and then you work your way down to RF maybe. What happens if one of these planes were to collide with another one or fall out the sky because other systems failed? Like now is Russia at fault? Like, okay, we didn't have satcom. Satcom's been blocked for, since the day of the invasion. Like we can attribute this to you. Now you have either is this a declaration of war? Like, is it going to be a fine? Are you going to be, hemmed up for being a war criminal because you killed civilians? Like, who's to say? Like, it's all uncharted, and I think they're playing a pretty dangerous game when you're messing with the private planes flying around. So I honestly don't know what the outcome will be, but it's definitely new territory, and now innocent people are wrapped up in it. So it's pretty crazy.
And you made a good
Speaking
point.
of, yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of RF, I didn't. There was another article I was gonna put in for this week, but I didn't. Apparently, they found some backdoor to RF encryption because that's the it all hit the fan. Now we're back on radios, right? Now they're saying that there's an issue, like there's a backdoor that they found and they're trying to patch. So that was like I don't know if it was CISA or the FBI came out or somebody came out and was like, hey, this critical vulnerability, we need to fix this. Because that is like it, right? It was like everything else failed. We gotta get back on these walkie-talkies real quick.
Mm.
And even that's not completely secure. So like cyber, like you said, like gotta pay attention.
The RF is definitely not secure. So I don't know like how much people have been paying attention, but like Ukraine has taken credit for killing 4 Russian generals, and for a couple of them, it was because they had lost secure communications and they were just talking through,
Oh, in the clear.
yeah,
Oh
talking
no.
clear, and yeah, that's how they kind of confirmed it. So like, yeah,
Right.
it's definitely not, yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I heard about that too.
So, but definitely MFA, right? MFA is the champion
Mhm.
here. You can't go wrong. Like obviously every uh security feature, whatever, has a flaw, or someone will find a way around it or whatever. But MFA is still pretty not undefeated, but it's up there. It has a high winning record. So it's
It,
definitely
It very much does, but even in the article, right? And I didn't get down into it too much, right? We gotta share the time amongst us, But like
Right.
they talked about what they were attacking even was misconfigurations, right? So it's one
right.
of those things where like if they were doing what they needed to do in the first place, this may not even be an issue, right? So like misconfigurations, least privilege, right? Like if you're just letting
Right.
everybody have access to everything, like this is how it gets out of control. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah, especially to a satellite. And then we haven't, like you alluded to, like they've weaponized satellites. So there was a test where Russia fired a projectile from one of their satellites at a dying satellite to knock it out of orbit. It was, it's proof of concept. Like, can we do this? But it couldn't be a rocket or a missile because then you weaponize space. So it was like a piece of it was flung out of itself, like to damage the other
Yeah.
satellite, knock it out of orbit. So like there's even that capability out there, right? So it's crazy. Like the future wars will be ridiculous, but
Yeah.
hopefully we don't get there. Hopefully this conflict will be resolved shortly, but we will see. But yeah, definitely great topic. I appreciate the discussion. Continue to tune in, everybody. Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion. So we kind of go into something we talked about on Monday. That'll be part of our Wednesday discussion. So definitely tune into that. No Ask a CISP this week, but Friday we definitely have a good weekly rundown because I've not been studying. So all I've been doing is watching TV. Definitely tune in for that. And then, like I said, we'll be on throughout this week. And then next week, we're taking a brief hiatus. So hit up all the websites. They all have our name as the title. Hit me up personally. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. I'm on Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Clubhouse. And you, LeVon?
You can hit me up on the Twitters at LeVon Maynard.
There it is. Stay safe, stay secure.
Take care.